You wake up to the sound of footsteps echoing through narrow stone streets, not the smooth roads of modern Florence, but uneven ground, damp in places, packed with dirt, waste, and yesterday's rain. The air smells different: wood smoke, animals, human life, close together. This is Florence, but not the one you know. The year is around 1000 AD. What today is a world-famous city of art, wealth, and Renaissance brilliance is, at this moment, something much smaller, much quieter, and far less powerful. Florence is not yet a major city. It is not the center of banking, not the birthplace of artistic revolution, not the symbol of cultural power it will become. Instead, it is a modest, growing town in central Italy, still shaped by the long shadow of the Roman Empire. If you walk through Florence at this time, you would notice something strange. Parts of the city still follow Roman layouts: old roads, fragments of walls, reused stone. But much of the Roman structure is gone, collapsed, repurposed, or simply buried beneath centuries of neglect. The population is small. Historians estimate only a few thousand people live here. Compared to modern Florence, with hundreds of thousands, this feels more like a large village than a city. And yet, life here is active, busy, structured around survival, work, and religion. Most people in Florence live simple lives. They are not artists or scholars. They are laborers, craftsmen, farmers who come into the town during the day. Your day begins early, very early, because there is no artificial light, no electricity, no late nights. Life follows the sun. As the sky begins to brighten, people start moving, doors open, voices carry through the streets, animals are let out: donkeys, chickens, sometimes pigs. You might live in a small wooden or stone house, likely shared with family, possibly even animals. Space is limited. Privacy is almost non-existent. Inside, the house is simple: a fire for cooking and warmth, basic wooden furniture. Very few possessions. Everything has a purpose. Nothing is decorative in the way we think today. Food is basic. Bread is the center of every meal, made from grains like wheat or barley, often coarse, sometimes dark and dense. Alongside bread, you might eat vegetables, beans, onions, cabbage, occasionally cheese. Meat is rare, only for special occasions or wealthier families. Water is not always safe, so people often drink diluted wine or ale, even children. As the day progresses, the streets fill. Florence may be small, but it is alive with activity. Artisans work openly. Blacksmiths hammer metal. Carpenters shape wood. Weavers produce cloth by hand. There are no factories, no machines. Everything is made slowly, by skill, by repetition. Markets form in open spaces. People gather to trade goods: food, tools, cloth. This is where much of daily interaction happens. You hear conversations about prices, about weather, about politics, but politics here is not distant. It is local, immediate. Florence is beginning to develop its own identity. It is no longer just a Roman settlement, but it is not yet a powerful medieval city. It is somewhere in between. Power in Florence is fragmented. There is no single strong ruler controlling everything. Instead, authority is shared between local elites, landowners, and the church. And the church is central to daily life. The most important building in the city is not a palace. It is a church. People attend religious services regularly, not just out of faith, but because religion structures time itself. Days, weeks, seasons, all tied to the church calendar. Bells ring throughout the day, marking time, calling people to prayer, reminding everyone of something greater than themselves. If you compare this to modern Florence, the difference is striking. Today, churches are historical landmarks, tourist attractions. But in the year 1000, They are the center of everything. Life is not easy. Sanitation is poor. Waste is often thrown into the streets. Water sources can be contaminated. Disease spreads easily. There are no hospitals as we understand them, no modern medicine. Illness can be deadly, even something minor. Danger is constant, not always from violence, but from uncertainty. Harvests can fail. Trade can slow. Weather can change everything. And yet, Florence continues to grow. Slowly. Its location helps. Florence sits along important land routes, connecting northern and southern Italy. Trade begins to increase, not dramatically, but steadily. Merchants pass through, bringing goods, bringing ideas, bringing connections. This is one of the early signs of transformation. Because cities do not become powerful overnight. They grow through small, almost invisible changes. Florence, around 1000 AD, is at the beginning of that process. You might not notice it immediately. But over time, work becomes more specialized. Trade becomes more organized. Wealth begins to accumulate. Families gain influence, not through royal titles, but through economic activity. This is very different from earlier periods. In the Roman world, power was centralized, imperial, structured. In Florence now, power is shifting, becoming more local, more flexible. This creates tension. Different groups compete for influence, control over trade, control over land, control over decisions. These tensions will shape Florence's future, because out of this instability, new systems will emerge. Guilds, political structures, economic networks. But in the year 1000, these are only beginning to form. If you walk through Florence at night, you would notice another difference. Darkness, real darkness. No streetlights, no illuminated buildings. Only firelight, torches, candles. The city becomes quieter, but not silent. You hear footsteps, distant voices, animals moving. Night can be dangerous. Without clear visibility, without organized policing, people stay close to home. This is not a city designed for nightlife. It is a city designed for survival. And yet, even in this early stage, there is something important happening. Florence is developing a rhythm, a pattern of life that will, over centuries, turn it into something extraordinary. If you compare this Florence to the one you know today, it almost feels like a different place entirely. Today, Florence is known for art, architecture, culture. But none of that exists yet, not in the way we recognize. The famous cathedral, the Duomo, does not exist. The grand palaces do not exist. The artistic masterpieces do not exist. Instead, there are simple buildings, narrow streets, basic systems of life. And yet, the foundation is being built. Because what makes Florence important later is not created suddenly. It grows out of this period. Out of small tijara, trade, local cooperation, gradual economic expansion, and most importantly, people. Ordinary people living ordinary lives, working, trading, raising families, adapting to change. That is what builds cities. Not just rulers, not just events, but daily life, repeated over generations. By the end of the 11th century, Florence is no longer just a small town. It is becoming something more. Trade increases further, population grows, structures become more organized. The seeds of the Renaissance are being planted, quietly, without anyone at the time realizing what is coming. And that is what makes this moment so important. Because if you stood in Florence in the year 1000, you would not see greatness. You would see struggle, simplicity, uncertainty. But hidden within that is potential. The kind of potential that, over the next few centuries, will transform Florence into one of the most influential cities in human history. And when you walk through Florence today, past its grand buildings, its museums, its crowded streets, you are not just seeing the Renaissance, you are seeing the result of centuries of slow, often difficult, human effort that began in places like this. In a small, modest city, around the year 1000, long before the world knew its name.